Welcome everybody, my name is Wendy and we're going to do about a 15 or 20 minute anti-inflammatory yoga practice. So what does that mean? We are going to focus on our lymphatic system, we're going to focus on building our immune system, we're going to throw in some detox poses, meaning we're going to twist and just really wring things out and get things cleared out, especially this time of year. I am recovering myself from COVID, which causes a lot of inflammation in the body. And the good news, if you are a yogi already, you have a practice, yoga is one of the best ways to reduce inflammation. So is pranayama or breath work. But if you're not a yogi, this is a great place to start. So we're going to start actually either in a seated position or you can choose to lay down flat on your back. But we're going to practice nasal breathing. And the reason why we're going to make sure that we inhale and exhale from our nose is because when we inhale through the nasal cavity, we are warming and filtering in the air that comes into the lungs, which is actually beneficial in helping to reduce inflammation. So if that's too difficult for you to do for some reason, if you're stopped up, no worries. But if you're able to manage that, let's give it a try. So we're going to do what's called a coherency breathwork technique. So if you want to close down the eyes and just settle in here. And if you're laying down, just make sure you're nice and comfortable. If you're seated, nice, comfortable position, not really working too hard, nice and relaxed, but making sure that the shoulders are away from the ears. Shoulders are nice and heavy, spine is tall. And again, we're going to start inhaling through the nose for a count of 3, 2, 1. And we're going to hold at the top of the breath for a count of 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then exhale for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So coherency breathing is inhaling, holding, and then exhaling a little bit longer than the inhale. Excuse me. Typically, I do this with a 3, 5, 8 count, and you can certainly choose to do that. But just starting out here today, we're going to do about 4 rounds of 3, 4, and then 5. So we're going to modify it a little bit if you're just starting out. So here we go. We're going to inhale for a count of 3, 2, 1. Hold at the top for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the nose, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. A few more times on your own. Inhaling through the nose, holding at the top, and then exhaling also out the nose. And remember, really filtering the air by inhaling and exhaling from the nose. Very helpful in reducing chronic inflammation and building up what's called nitrous oxide. 2 more rounds. Then whenever you're ready, if your eyes are closed, opening them back up. And if you want to change the cross of your legs, and if you're laying down, come up and meet us in a seat. And we're going to get into just the sides of the neck here. This is a good way to, first of all, activate our vagus nerve, which can sometimes tense up the muscles on the side of the neck, but it's also really good to stimulate the lymph nodes that are located in this area of the body. So we're going to bring the left ear to the left shoulder and really try to actively bring the right shoulder away from the ear, maybe even bringing this right hand out to the side, and then just taking a few breaths here, in and out through the nose again if you can. Just knowing breathing this way is beneficial for that inflammatory response. And then coming back to center, same thing on the other side. Let's bring that right ear to the right shoulder, maybe looking up, maybe bringing that left arm to the side and noticing how it feels when you bring that shoulder away from the ear. A few breaths here. I know for me, I'm really feeling it on this side, so I obviously need it. Softening the jaw, not clenching. All right, back to center. Let's meet on all fours. We're going to start to move pretty quickly in this practice because it's going to be brief, but it's going to be impactful. We're really going to get into a lot of different areas in the body. And so what we're going to do to start out with is just push up right to downward facing dog. So if you're familiar, it's an upside down V position. And if you're just starting out and this is a little bit too much, you can find your way back to your knees and do this half down dog position where you're walking your hands towards the front of your mat, melting the heart or the chest towards the mat and actively pressing your finger pads into the mat so that you're lifting the forearms off the mat. This is a great transition if you're not quite ready for the full downward facing dog. But for my yogis or for anybody who is familiar, the tailbone is going up towards the ceiling or the sky, and you're in this inverted V position. And maybe you want to move a little bit. It's called walking the dog, and then finding some stillness, really pressing into the mat. There's so many different things that you can focus on in this pose with your alignment. But for purposes of what we're going to do today, I'd like you to just take 2 rounds of that nasal breathing, inhaling, exhaling. And then we're going to slowly find our way to plank pose. So again, if you need to modify, you can always drop down to your knees and walk the hands just a little bit forward and then leaning the shoulders over the wrists so that you're still feeling this in your core and your shoulders. And we're just trying to build some heat and some strength, warmth in the body, pressing the mat away, shoulders over the wrists. Couple breaths here, looking down, feeling the warmth building up. Seeing if you can continue to breathe in and out through the nose. I'm starting to shake a little bit. Back to downward facing dog. Feet are going to be about hip width apart. And we're going to do that a few more times. So let's inhale forward to plank. Briefly back to down dog. Just really warming things up. Building that fire in the body. It's a really good practice, especially if it's cold where you are. Doesn't take a lot. Breathing as we move. And then this last time, instead of going forward to plank, walk your feet towards your hands. Find this forward fold and relax the head down. Really getting into the back of the legs here. Maybe you want to hold on to the legs. Top of the head towards the mat. And slowly make your way up to mountain pose. Stepping that right foot back, we're going to find this crescent lunge position. So all 10 toes are going towards the front of the mat. Reaching the arms all the way up. Fingertips are long and strong. Core is nice and active. Arms forward, right underneath the left, And if you can manage to grab the palms, we're going for these eagle arms. Otherwise, if that's just too much, you can give yourself a little bit of a hug, lifting the elbows up. And now we're focusing on those lymph nodes that are right here, located where your hip flexors are. And then we're also getting into the shoulder blades, leaning back. And if you feel comfortable, slowly start to lean forward, the inside of that front leg, and then back up. So we're going to move a little bit, breathing and moving, just knowing that this short practice is going to be really beneficial to the nervous system, lymphatic system, immune system. And then let's find some stillness here. Awesome job. Coming back up, unwinding, arms forward. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to do a twist in this position. So bringing the left arm behind. You can always make a wider base with the feet, staying here. And then if you want to lean back just a little bit, awesome. And then coming all the way back down, finding plank pose, pausing, and then depending on what's in your practice, you can find your way to chaturanga or cobra pose. And then meet me back in downward facing dog. Take a few rounds of breath here. Really good job. And remember, option to drop your knees, half down dog. Getting in to that other side, but let's do a few more rounds of that plank to down dog, plank to down dog. One more time. You guys are doing awesome. I just know it. And then slowly coming back up, finding the standing pose, and then coming all the way up to mountain pose. Awesome job, you guys. Same thing on the other side. So now we're going to step that left foot back and finding crescent pose on the other side, reaching all the way up and opening up these left hip flexor now. Remember, focusing on those lymph nodes that are located in this region. Arms forward, straight. And then this time, left underneath the right, eagle arms, or give yourself a hug. Back, and then forward. Just leaning in to the inside of that right foot if that feels okay. A few rounds of this. Challenging our balance. I know it's challenging mine right now. And then finding some stillness on this last one. Keep breathing. Coming on up, unwinding, and then bow and arrowing that right arm down, left arm to the front. Just hanging here, or maybe you can reverse. And again, really challenging our balance here. Really getting into that left hip flexor. And then coming all the way down, stepping back to plank, and then finding your way to cobra. Tops of the feet press into the mat, lifting the chest up, and then finding your way to child's pose. All right, great work, you guys. One more thing standing, and then we're going to come back down. So we're going to be in this tabletop position, and then we're going to come right back to downward facing dog. So this time we're going to inhale the right leg up. So this is called three-legged dog. Step all the way through. You may not be able to step in just one try, and that's okay. Finding your way to this lunge, which should look familiar to you because we were just here. This is a standing lunge or crescent pose. opening up to warrior two. So my back foot is at a 45-degree angle, bringing the right elbow over and then reversing. And again, we're really focusing on opening up this area here where we've got those lymph nodes. Back and forth, breathing as we move, and then finding a little bit of stillness here, reaching all the way up, really opening up the side body. And then we're going to go right into the other side. And we're going to bring the arms up, finding that crescent pose, warrior two, and then bringing the elbow to the thigh, reaching up, and then back. Few times, just remembering to breathe as you move. Doing good, building a little bit of heat, balancing out that nervous system, encouraging that lymphatic flow, just doing the body good. Awesome. And then warrior two, come to the center and all 10 toes are facing the side of your mat. Bringing the your hands to your hips, and then slowly, this is called a wide leg forward fold. Hanging here, couple breaths, maybe bringing the hands to the chest, and then coming up, really gripping the feet into the mat before you come up. Really using the strength of your legs to come up. Awesome. One other thing that we're going to do here, it's called Skandasana. You can keep the hands together like this, or you can put them on the hips. And then we're going to lean into that right knee, really opening up the inside of this left leg, breathing as we move to the other side. So you can come down or stay as high up as your body allows. So we're just breathing and moving a couple times on each side. And then we're going to find a little bit of stillness here in a moment. Awesome. We're going to find our stillness in our Yogi Squat. So maybe bringing the feet a little bit closer in and then coming down as far as you can. The important thing to remember here is that you want your knees and your toes in one line. If this is something that isn't accessible in your body, that's okay. Just take a seat. Otherwise, we're really trying to get into this inside seam of the legs. And I like to move sometimes instead of finding stillness. Awesome. And then we're ready to come all the way up. Reach, reach, reach. Hands to heart center. Walk out a little bit more. And we're going to build just one last set of heat. Coming down, up, down. Maybe add the arms. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good job, you guys. Stand up and then bring the feet together. Mountain pose. See how everything feels. Checking in, noticing the heart rate, respiration, where you feel heat in the body. And then opening the eyes back up, reaching all the way up, coming back down, finding that forward fold, and then finding a seat. Awesome. All right, we're going to end with kind of a version of something that's really good for your hips. It's called deer pose. So I'm actually going to face the front of my mat because you can probably see me better. We're going to take this left knee and bring it behind the body here. So depending on if you have knee issues or if this hurts your ankle, you can always do this with the support of a blanket underneath. And then this right leg comes forward and your left leg behind you can kind of just set comfortably. So finding where it feels good in your body. Having a seat here and closing down the eyes. And depending on how everything feels, you can actually start to fold if you would like. So taking the chest and having it face that right knee or that front knee, you want to bring the hands down and maybe walk a little bit towards that knee, maybe drop to the forearms. Coming back up. And then same thing to the other side. Now this is going to be a little bit more intense. Listen to your body. Be very careful with this left knee. Everyone's going to feel this differently. But we're really trying to get into those areas in the body that we don't get into very much. Inside of the leg, focusing on those lymph nodes, side body. Really using your breath here. Slowly come on up. And then before we go to the other side, let's do what's called windshield wiper. So we're going to lean back on the hands here and just bring the left knee in and then the right a couple times, just really moving some things around. And then we'll do the same thing, deer pose on the other side. So this time we'll bring this right leg back and then the left is in the front, facing the chest towards the front of the mat. Closing down the eyes and just resting the hands wherever they feel good and see how everything feels. Continuing to breathe in and out of the nose if you can, especially since we've slowed it down. And then same thing, we're going to try to walk forward with our hands and lean just kind of at a 45-degree angle. So basically where your front knee would be pointing, that's where you want to try to see and lean. If it feels good, maybe you want to drop to the forearms. Again, doing what feels good in your body. And noticing how you can use your breath to open up those areas that are a little bit more constricted. Coming up, maybe trying that in the other direction. Slowly coming back up. And one more time, let's do that. Windshield wiper, seeing how everything feels, letting it go. This is a really nice release on the low back. That's how I feel it. And then let's find our way all the way to our backs. And we're going to find what's called happy baby pose, but we've got some modifications. So with happy baby pose, we grab the outside edge of the feet and we bring the knees into the armpits and we press the chest through the gateway of the arms. Low back is pressed into the mat. If that is not accessible in your body, you can bring the feet together. This is called a butterfly pose, and just hands can come to the ankles. They can come to the shins. Take a few rounds of breath here. So whatever position you want to take, find that. Close down the eyes. Continue to breathe in and out of the nose. See how everything feels. So what I like to do here is sometimes, depending on what time of day it is, because the morning I'm a lot more stiff. It's the afternoon right now, so I have a little bit more flexibility, but I like to straighten each leg sometimes. Sometimes I like to straighten both. If you're like, nope, that's not going to happen, then you just stay put. One more round of breath. And then letting it go, we're going to end with a spinal twist. So you can either just drop your knees off to the side, or you can stack one knee over the other. There's probably not a class of mine where I don't do something like this because it's one of my favorites. So bringing this left arm up, either goalpost or straight, you can look up or you can look towards the left hand. I think I'm just going to look up, close down the eyes, and you're really opening up the side body, really get into the low back, the hips, the glutes. This is just a win-win. This is why I love this one. Really targets a lot of different areas that can really get constricted throughout the day. And then slowly transition to the other side. But before you do, maybe just bring the knees in one time and reset before we drop off to the other side. So that right arm is up and closing down the eyes, a few breaths in and out of the nose. And then slowly coming back to center. And obviously you can always choose to end your practice any way you'd like. We're going to do a traditional Shavasana or corpse pose. A suggestion that I have, I would do it right now, but I don't really want to kick my candles over, especially if we're trying to encourage lymphatic drainage, is called legs up the wall. It's when your legs are elevated, and any time that your heart is lower, or your heart or your chest is underneath the legs, that's called an inversion. And it's opposite of the way we go through most of our day, most of our life. And it's really good to encourage circulation, immune function, lymphatic drainage. So I encourage you, if you can't do it now, maybe try it. I typically do this every night before I go to bed for a few minutes. But for now, I'm just going to end in a traditional Shavasana corpse pose, nice and relaxed, palms face up, spending as much time as you need here. And just knowing that you did something really beneficial for your body and for your mind. And then whenever you're ready, and one thing you might want to do is bring your left hand to your chest, right arm to the belly. Maybe taking another round of breath here. And then maybe rolling over to that right side, extending the arm out, using it as a pillow. One last breath here. And then finding your way back to a seat, meeting you just where we began, and bringing the hands to heart center, and then bowing your head down. And you don't have to physically do this, but give yourself a pat on the back for trying this practice, especially if it's new to you. The light within me honors the light within all of you. Namaste.